Okay, so this is part 2. All right, at John chapter 14, I'm at John chapter 14, verses 10. I'm going to start off. It says, "Do you not believe that I am in union with the Father, and the Father is in union with me?" So Jesus says that to Philip. Now, the reason why he says that, think about the reason why Jesus say that. Jesus says how if you see me, you see the Father. You have seen the Father. And Jesus already explained, if you know him, then you have come to know the Father. And I already went over the scriptures in part 1 of the video on how Jesus reflected the will of the Father being done on earth. So what Jesus would have done is what the Father would have done if he was there. So there will be no point in the Father coming down to show his physical presence when no man can see him and live, first of all. And second of all, Jesus already showed the will of the Father through his actions and conduct. So Jesus is explaining this point to Philip. He says, in verse 10, where I just said, Jesus asked a question to Philip, "Do you not believe that I am in union with the Father, and the Father is in union with me?" The things, and then Jesus goes on to say, after that question to Philip, "The things I say to you, I do not speak of my own originality, but the Father who remains in union with me is doing his works." So Jesus pointed out he's not doing everything he's doing because of his will, something he just wills by himself, originating from the will of himself. He's doing this stuff based off of what? Why is he doing everything he's doing? And again, John chapter 8, verse 29 is where Jesus says he always do what pleases the Father. That's why he's doing everything he's doing, because he's pleasing the Father and pursuing the will of the Father. And Jesus goes on to say, after the comma, he says, "But the Father who remains in union with me is doing his works." So I'm going to read that whole point again so it's clear, even clearer. "The things I say to you, I do not speak of my own originality, comma." So Jesus pointed out, I'm talking, but it's not based from originating from me being the source of this information being taught to me. I mean, he says it very clear how he is not doing actions based off of what's from him. "But the Father who remains in union with me is doing his works." And in verse 11, Jesus says, "Believe me that I am in union with the Father, and the Father is in union with me. Otherwise, believe because of the works themselves." So Jesus is making reference to what? The things he has done. The talks, the miracles, all the things. He's making reference to his actions and how they don't originate just from him doing that. Jesus didn't send himself and come down here to pursue the will of himself. He came down here to pursue the will of the Father. So he that has seen him has, in essence, seen the likeness of the Father. And verse 12, Jesus says, most truly I say to you, whoever exercises faith in me will also do the works that I do, and he will do works greater than these, because I am going my way to the Father. So it's very clear that the Father is not Jesus. Jesus says he's going to the Father. How could this be confusing? But Philip was questioning him extra, because he obviously wanted to maybe see the Father physically. But that's not going to happen, because no man can see the Father and live. However, they can see the likeness of what the Father would have done through the actions of Jesus. So this is just pointing out to understand how Jesus reflected the likeness of the Father. And when he also said, I am one with the Father. That's at John chapter 10 verse 30, where Jesus says, I and the Father are one. Why did he say that? Because Jesus reflected the will of the Father. He was one with the harmony will of the Father. He wasn't one as far as being inside, one being like some people say or think he's a second part of God. Jesus never said that. However, he did say how he and the Father are one. One in what? One in one harmony. Another point to back this up is at John chapter 20 verse 17, where Jesus says the Heavenly Father is his God and the God of his disciples. So it's very clear. He doesn't say the Heavenly Father is part one of a God and I'm part two. That don't exist.